The story. One day in summer, Frog was not feeling well. "Frog, you're looking quite green," Toad said. "But I always look green," said Frog. "I'm a frog." "Well, today you look very green, even for a frog," said Toad. "Get into my bed and rest." Toad made Frog a cup of hot tea. Frog drank the tea, and then he said, "Tell me a story while I'm resting." "All right," said Toad. "Let me think of a story to tell you." Toad thought and thought, but he could not think of a story to tell Frog. "I'll go out on the front porch and walk up and down," said Toad. "Perhaps that'll help me to think of a story." Toad walked up and down on the porch for a long time, but he could not think of a story to tell Frog. Then Toad went into the house and stood on his head. "Why are you standing on your head?" asked Frog. "I hope that if I stand on my head, it'll help me to think of a story," said Toad. Toad stood on his head for a long time, but he could not think of a story to tell Frog. Then Toad poured a glass of water over his head. "Why are you pouring water over your head?" asked Frog. "Well, I hope that if I pour water over my head, it'll help me to think of a story," said Toad. Toad poured many glasses of water over his head, but he could not think of a story to tell Frog. Then Toad began to bang his head against the wall. "Why are you banging your head against the wall?" asked Frog. Sorry, my phone dropped. "Well, I hope that if I bang my head against the wall hard enough, it'll help me to think of a story," said Toad. "Well, actually, I'm feeling much better now, Toad," said Frog. "I don't think I need you to tell me a story anymore." "Then you get out of bed and let me get into it, because now I feel terrible," said Toad. Frog said, "Would you like me to tell you a story, Toad?" "Yes," said Toad, "if you know one." "Okay." And Frog began the story. He said, "Once upon a time there were two good friends, a frog and a toad. The frog was not feeling well. He asked his friend the toad to tell him a story. The toad could not think of a story. He walked up and down on the front porch, but he could not think of a story. He stood on his head, but he could not think of a story. He poured water over his head, but he could not think of a story. He even banged his head against the wall, but still could not think of a story. Then the toad was not feeling so well, and the frog was feeling a little better. So the toad went to bed, and the frog got up and told him a story. Yeah, how was that, Toad? "Toad?" said Frog, but Toad did not answer. He'd fallen asleep.